So do we want to dive into a demo?
Yeah, absolutely. There's really a few parts of Swyft that I always like to show off. So after everything is integrated and implemented, we partner with conversational intelligence tools like Gong. So there's really no setup for Swyft. If you're using Gong, you'll be using Swyft too, which is really cool. After an account executive, for example, runs a customer meeting, they'll see a notification in Slack from Swyft that looks like this. And this is just our internal instance of Swyft at Swyft. But what they'd be seeing here is all the data that Swyft captured from that meeting that now needs to be put into the CRM. So again, you can think of this in a very simple way and say a meeting summary all the way down to, you can even see here like the fields that we have in our opportunities in Salesforce, right? We want to know which CRM do they use, which internal communication tool, what sales methodology do they use, what are their identified goals and pains, things like that. This is just letting the rep, say, hey, we found some information from that last call that is now out of date in the CRM and it needs to be pushed. It's going to include a link that looks like that. That will bring them to a page that looks like this. And this is really cool because this is where they can make any approvals and edits before actually pushing the data that we've captured to the CRM. And so you can see here the meeting summary and then all the fields that the business has decided they want Swyft to automate will show any suggested changes that will push into the CRM. So what's really cool is none of this is actually manually typed out. This is all configured and brought up by Swyft. And so all the rep would need to do is approve these changes. And we'll push that directly to the proper places in the CRM. So they can approve changes, they can reject changes. If they don't like what Swyft is suggesting, they can make edits as well. So they can manually make changes too. But generally speaking, a rep is only going to spend about 60 seconds on this page, which I love. I know it sounds counterintuitive for me to say I love when they aren't spending too much time in Swyft, but at the end of the day, that's our job, right? Is to automate a lot of the admin work that these reps need to take care of. So the less time they're spending in here, the better, because that means they're out selling, sourcing deals, managing customer relationships, all that good stuff, which is super cool. So after they go through that, they just click the update opportunity button and all of that data is going to be pushed to the proper places in the CRM.
From a partnerships lens, this is awesome because one of the few things that makes it into the CRM is often which partners are they using. Obviously, you can get that from data enrichment, but I'm often sitting in Gong doing searches to see, like, did any partners come up? So this is a very cool feature.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's actually a common example that we hear during implementation is, can we capture any integrations that they need, any partners that they're using, what's their tech stack, things like that. And when that's discussed in a call, we capture it automatically and push it to the proper place in Salesforce or HubSpot.
So how long it really takes to integrate with the CRM?
It takes a click. It takes about 60 seconds. We have pretty robust integrations with both Salesforce and HubSpot.
Okay, that's an excellent selling point. I can tell you that. The next question I have is whether this tool is helping to identify the source of the opportunity in the conversation, right? So you have multiple teams, probably marketing is not really sitting on the phone with the prospects, but you have SDRs, you have the reps, so of course the CSMs and the partners, right? So these are the kind of sources that are very often available in almost any company. So is there a mechanism behind this that is really helping to identify this, and then I can report in my native CRM how I'm performing in terms of the volume and value of these opportunities?
So if that's mentioned on a call, we can absolutely capture that and make sure that that's going anywhere in Salesforce or HubSpot that you need it to go. So for example, if you get a partner referral or a partner lead, and that's discussed on the call, 100%. If we configure Swyft to capture information like that, we'll capture that and sync it to wherever you need it to go in the CRM so that you can properly report. And one of the things that's nice too is this is all natively being synced to the CRM. So there's no package that you need to install or anything like that. This is all going wherever in the CRM you need it to go. And we can configure that on our end for you, which is pretty cool.
I'm curious if you can create new opportunities from a conversation and also change the opportunity stage based on what you think it should be, because that is often something that's not well updated in a CRM.
Absolutely. So you can do both. So if you wanted to say, we want to create a brand new opportunity, we can do that as well. And from there, we just associate an account to it, whichever account that opportunity should be. And now we're creating an opportunity instead of just editing an existing one. So
Very cool.
depending on your sales motions, right, and at what stage of the sales process your team is actually creating opportunities, if it is after like a discovery call, for example, that's when that's most often going to be used. And yes, we can automate the stage of the deal as well. So if you have certain criteria, right, and say if this happened on the meeting, the deal should be in stage 3, we can update the stage for you as well.
This one conversation can trigger a lot of different actions depending on who is on the call, who is the owner of the call and meeting, and allocate that record depending whether this is coming from partnership, coming from CSM, might be an upsell opportunity or amendment, could be a renewal, or it could be an acquisition opportunity. Okay.
Right. Even after the deal is closed and it's done and they're implementing. We even have some implementation folks on it as well, which has been really cool to see.
So that's very helpful. How is this helping to trigger action items? Because I saw on the list, there are next steps, right? And, the one thing is to capture what you really discuss. Another one is to follow up on what you discussed. So what you can solve on that front, and how does this look in the system?
Again, like I mentioned, very configurable. And something that we can do really in the configuration of the platform is do certain things with the data that's outside of just logging it to a field, right? And so action items is actually one of the best examples for that. We have a couple of customers who they capture action items with Swyft. And then we've built a workflow here on the back end in their account that will create a task in Salesforce, a to-do task, automatically with those action items. And so before, the reps were responsible for finishing their meeting. They would, kind of handwrite their notes, say, okay, here are my next steps, here are my to-dos, here are my action items, and then go and create a to-do task in Salesforce. We can build out a workflow that lets that happen automatically. So we can build out a workflow that creates a task for the action items that were discussed to make it a little more actionable, right? So if you're living out of the CRM, you say, here are my to-dos for the day, they're automatically in there coming from Swyft and coming from what was discussed.
This is awesome. I think it's really helping individuals to stay on top of their opportunities and never forget that they have to do something about this. And Absolutely. You don't have to just jump between the different parts of your CRM in order to set it up. It can really pop up on the one page with everything else that you're updating.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all configured, which is kind of what I talked about earlier, the RevOps side of Swyft. It's all configured before the teams actually kick off. Mm-hmm. And so what's nice is you're not just automating process, which is great for one, to get everyone back in selling, but a lot of the process changes that happen require enablement, right? If there's a big process change or if there's 5 new fields added to Salesforce, oftentimes you got to send out a company-wide Slack or you got to pull everyone off the floor for half an hour and tell them, what you expect. With Swyft, you don't have to do any of that. And so this is how everything is configured. Before we actually kick off with the team, we'll sit down with RevOps, Sales Ops, and say, hey, let us know what fields do you want us to be capturing, right? So it can be 5, it can be 50, doesn't matter. Once we know what fields we're capturing, we build out what we call a prompt for each field. And this is really where the configuration is amazing because this is how we capture custom objects, custom fields in your CRM. It's awesome. It's like this is an example here. We have a field on our opportunities called CRM. It's just simply which CRM does the prospect use. And you can see that we actually prompt that. And that's how Swyft knows what data to capture, how to capture it, if there's any nuance, any specifics with the business, if they want it templated, anything like that. It's really, really cool. And so this is how Swyft actually knows what data to capture, how to capture it, all that good stuff. It's really customizable.
So you mentioned that you're working with Gong. So what's the area of cooperation between you both?
The integration with Gong is pretty simple. That's just our way to capture the audio from the meeting. Obviously, Swyft needs to analyze the meeting in a similar, way that Gong does, just for a totally different reason. And that's capturing the CRM data that needs to be pushed in, versus Gong is obviously conversational intelligence. So many of our customers use Gong. It just makes sense to not have to use two different meeting bots, or remember to use Gong and Swyft. The integration with Gong has helped a lot with the adoption. If you're using Gong, you're using Swyft. And if your call is making its way into Gong, it'll make its way into Swyft, and just makes it a lot easier to adopt.
Got it. So you partner on the conversation intelligence, but you actually are adding value on the task management and managing the information from Gong, because they don't do that, right? I know they don't.
Exactly. Yeah, we partner with Gong, Chorus. We have, if you don't use any conversational intelligence, we do have native Zoom and Microsoft Teams integrations. So you would simply just need to record your meeting on Zoom. It's really just Swift's way of getting access to the audio in the meeting, so that we can analyze the meeting and then extract what needs to be pushed into the CRM.
I'm assuming Google Meet is also on the list.
Yes.
Sounds good. You're covering almost any conversational solution. That is great.
And that's where those integrations with Gong, for example, have been really, really helpful. Like I said, I was in RevOps, so I know, putting a new tool on the plate of the revenue teams is often a challenge. And so integrating with a tool like Gong or Zoom that they're already using, they're already used to, and then just having it run really in the background is something our customers like a lot. Outside of Salesforce and HubSpot, Gong is the most used integration.
And then the Slack integration is helpful too, to just prompt the sales teams to actually follow up and make the updates. When you're talking to customers and prospects,